My doctor tells me that I need rest and a change of air. It is likely I shall get both soon enough. But in flat defiance of my doctor's orders, I will take the world into my confidence. You will learn the nature of my illness and judge if any man was ever tormented as I. 2 months ago, I was the happiest man in India. Today, from one end of the country to the other, there is no one more wretched. 3 years ago, it was my great misfortune to sail to Bombay with one Agnes Keith Wessington. Before the voyage had ended, we were desperately and unreasonably in love with each other. In matters of this sort, there is always one who gives and another who accepts. From the first day, I was conscious that Agnes's passion was a stronger sentiment than mine. Whether she recognized this fact then, I do not know. After we arrived, our love and my leave took us both to Simla, where we spent the season together. There, my fire of straw burned itself out to a pitiful end with the closing year. From my own lips, she learned that I was sick of her presence and weary of her voice.
Jack, darling, I'm sure it's all a hideous mistake. We'll be good friends again someday. Please forgive me.
I was the offender, and I knew it. That knowledge transformed my pity into blind hate. The next year, we met again. She, with her monotonous face and attempts at reconciliation, and I with loathing of her in every fiber of my frame.
It's all a mistake, Jack. Just a hideous mistake. We can still be friends.
I might have seen, had I cared to look, that hope alone was keeping her alive. I maintain that she was much to blame. It was uncalled for, childish, and unwomanly. And yet, sometimes I think that I might have been a little kinder to her. Then came the season of 1884, my courtship of little Kitty Mannering. My hopes, my fears. I loved her, and with my love for her grew my hatred for Agnes. In August, Kitty and I were engaged. The next day, I saw Mrs. Wessington and stopped to tell her.
So I hear you're engaged, Jack dear. I'm sure it's all a mistake. A hideous mistake. We shall be good friends someday, Jack.
My answer might have made even a man wince. It cut the dying woman before me like a whip.
Please forgive me, Jack. I didn't mean to make you angry, but it's true.
I turned away and left her, feeling, but only for a moment, that I had been an unutterably mean hound. I looked back and saw that she had turned her rickshaw, perhaps trying to overtake me. I turned my horse up a side path and literally ran away. 10 minutes later, I met Kitty, and in the delight of a long ride with her, forgot all about the interview. A week later, Mrs. Wessington died. The inexpressible burden of her existence was removed from my life. I went on, perfectly happy. By April of the next year, I was back in Simla, deep in lovers' talks and walks with Kitty. We decided we should be married at the end of June. I was the happiest man in India.
An engagement ring is the sign of your dignity as an engaged girl. We must go to Hamilton's at once to have you measured.
On the 15th of April, we went to Hamilton's. I was then in perfect health, with a well-balanced mind. We then rode down the slope that leads to the Combermere Bridge. I became aware that someone at a vast distance was calling me by my Christian name. It struck me that I had heard the voice before, but I could not determine when or where. My eye was arrested by the sight of bearers pulling a rickshaw. My mind flew back to Mrs. Wessington with a sense of irritation and disgust.
Kitty, there are poor Mrs. Wessington's bearers turned up again. I wonder who has them now.
What? Where? I can't see them anywhere.
Horse and rider passed through men and carriage.
What's the matter? What made you call out so foolishly, Jack?
What was the matter? Nothing indeed. Either I was mad or drunk, or Simla was haunted with devils.
Jack, darling. It's some hideous mistake, I'm sure. Please forgive me, Jack.
I hope and pray daily for the death I dread by night. I dashed, half fainting, into Polides for a glass of cherry brandy. Their trivialities were more comforting to me then than the consolations of religion could have been. I plunged into the midst of the conversation at once, when I caught a glimpse of it in a mirror, as white and drawn as that of a corpse. 3 or 4 men noticed my condition, charitably trying to draw me apart from the rest, but I refused. I wanted the company of my kind, like a child after a fright in the dark. I heard Kitty's
Jack?
clear voice outside, inquiring for me. She entered, prepared to scold me for failing so signally in my duties.
Why, Jack? What have you been doing? What has happened? Are you ill?
Son, it was a little too much for me today.
It was a cloudy April afternoon. The sun had been hidden all day. I saw my mistake as soon as the words were out. I had blundered hopelessly. I made some excuse and cantered away to my hotel, leaving Kitty to finish the ride by herself. In my room, I sat down and tried calmly to reason out the matter. I sent a penitent note to Kitty, explaining I'd had a sudden palpitation of the heart. I feebly protested, suggesting anywhere rather than the Jocko round. My mind had been full of Mrs. Wessington all afternoon. Every inch of the road bore witness to our old walks. As a fitting climax, in the middle of the level road, the horror was awaiting me. The same carriage and a shadow surrounding it.
Not a soul in sight. Come along, Jack. I'll race you to the reservoir.
I was to dine with the Mannerings that night and had barely time to canter home to dress. And for visible answer to my question, I saw the infernal thing blocking my path in the twilight. I was afraid I was going mad.
Good evening, Mrs. Wessington.
Her answer was one I knew only too well. I listened to the end. I thanked them and arrived at the Mannerings 10 minutes late. I pleaded the darkness as an excuse and was rebuked by Kitty for my unlover-like tardiness.
There he was, on the Elysium Road, talking to thin air.
A few sentences convinced me he was repeating the incident of half an hour ago. He caught my eyes and straightway collapsed.
bear you company if you don't mind. Our roads lie together.
My instinct had not deceived me. It lay in readiness, with what seemed a devilish mockery of our ways.
I say, Pansay, what the deuce was the matter with you this evening on the Elysium Road?
That. There's nothing whatever where you're pointing.
I'll take sole medical charge of you from this hour. You're too interesting to be passed over.
To my intense delight, the rickshaw, instead of waiting for us, kept about 20 yards ahead. The uprooted trees swayed and then fell. I arrived at Dr. Heatherlegg's house after midnight. His attempts toward my cure commenced almost immediately. For a week, I never left his sight. Day by day, my spirits grew lighter and more equable. I wrote to Kitty, telling her a fall from my horse kept me indoors for a few days. I was with Kitty, drunk with the intoxication of present happiness and the knowledge I should never more be troubled.
Let's ride at once, and by preference, a canter round Jacko.
Why, Jack? You are behaving like a child. What are you doing?
Doing? Nothing, dear. If you'd been doing nothing for a week, you'd be as riotous as I.
My quotation was hardly out of my lips. In the center of the level road stood the black and white liveries, the rickshaw, and Mrs. Keith Wessington.
You said you'd love me forever, Jack. Forever.
I pulled up, looked, rubbed my eyes. The next thing I knew, I was lying face downward on the road.
Has it gone, child?
Has what gone, Jack dear? What does it all mean? There must be a mistake somewhere, Jack. A hideous mistake.
Her last words brought me to my feet, mad, raving for the time being. I suppose I must have told Kitty of my old relations with Mrs. Wessington, for I saw her listen intently with white face and blazing eyes. So I judged, and judged rightly, that Kitty knew all. I stayed inside for months. My body grew daily stronger, until the looking glass told me I had returned to everyday life. There, I found every man knew my story as told by Heatherlegg, and was, in clumsy fashion, abnormally kind. Nevertheless, I recognized that for the rest of my life, I should be among, but not of, my fellows. I wandered aimlessly in the vague hope of meeting Kitty. Close to the bazaar, Kitty and a man on a carriage overtook and passed me. For any sign she gave, I might have been a dog in the road. So Kitty and her companion, and I and my ghostly light-o'-love, crept round Jacko in couples.
Agnes, will you put back your hood and tell me what it all means?
The hood dropped noiselessly, and I was face to face with my dead and buried mistress. What we said during that weird interview, I cannot, indeed, I dare not, tell. It seemed that they were the shadows, impalpable, fantastic shadows, that divided for Mrs. Wessington's rickshaw. What we said during that weird interview, I cannot tell. Morning after morning, the ghostly rickshaw and I used to wander through Simla together. Wherever I went, there the 4 black and white liveries followed me. Will my soul be wrenched from me to take its place forever by the side of that ghastly phantasm? Shall I return to my old lost allegiance, or meet Agnes, loathing her, and bound to her side through all eternity? Pity me, at least on the score of my delusion, for I know you will never believe what I have written here. In justice, too, pity her. For as surely as ever woman was killed by man, I killed Mrs. Wessington, and the last portion of my punishment is even now upon me.